Hi, friends. It's Deanna Willison with our Blooming Catholic Life. And part of the blooming in our Catholic life is taking some time for leisure, good family fun. One of the things the husband and I like to do is disc golf. We don't really disc golf with other people. We're always on the fly. Like we have like a half hour to spare or an hour and a half to spare. Let's go hit the course. There's a course not too far from us that's fairly new, and so like it's hardly used, and so we love it because we can run out. There's usually no waiting. Now occasionally good players will come up behind us, and no problem, I pull out my handy dandy camp chair and I just sit and take a break and wait for the next group to go. Now, while disc golf is really fun, there's some things that you have to remember if you're going to try it out as a sport this year. One is you're going to want to stretch. You may not think that you need to stretch before you start, and then there's always that one throw, and you wish you'd remembered to stretch. So stretch yourself out, or you're stuck under a tree and you're having to lean at a really weird angle, and you're like, I skipped those leg stretches. Should have done that. So try and do that. Also, it's the time of year. I only made it till August before I got poison ivy, and that was to retrieve somebody else's discs. Unfortunately, some public disc golf courses aren't taking care of the best, and the poison ivy creeps, 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 and they mow less, 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 and then you're going to have to deal with poison ivy. Now, if you've got somebody in your group that doesn't get poison ivy, that's amazing. But here's my little disc. It's quarantined in a Ziploc bag because it did get just on the edge. It just touched it, and it is not worth the risk for me. But yes, I've already had poison ivy from going into the weeds. But it is good because you saw I had it in quarantine. I use these bags. You can see how beat up it is. It may need replaced. I use this as a quarantine kit. I didn't need this so much in the winter time. Poison ivy you can still get in the wintertime, but it's died back a bit. So I have a number of empty bags for quarantine discs. I have some paper towels, which look a little sketchy because I folded up and it's been folded up so many times. It did not look clean, but it is in case you're bleeding. Who knows? I have a first aid kit as well, but I feel like this is needed. I have this handy dandy little container of a certain dish soap that's especially used to get oils off of wildlife. It's also really good at getting poison ivy oil off your discs. Pro tip here, I filled up this reusable silicone container with just a little bit of it, but you can see it's gotten solidified a bit. It's more of a gel than it was before, so you probably want to refresh that if you've had it before. You may just need to add a little bit of water back, but this is really helpful, not just for your discs, but for you, should you have gotten into poison ivy. If it's really in poison ivy, we do have some gloves. Again, this kit gets shoved into a pocket. But I have a number of gloves because you usually run into somebody who does not have a kit as well. What else is helpful? Alcohol prep pads. Again, they take away oils, right? They wipe up oils and make things clean. Thing is, these are little. These are little. I thought they were folded up in here. They are not, but you can see it is 70% isopropyl alcohol. These are really great. I wish they were a bigger towelette inside it, but that works good. And then I also have in here, just in case I've forgotten, I have my tick repellent in the bag. Important to have, especially if you were in a clear area and you weren't that worried about, but then you have to go fetch a disc from the woods, you're going to want to apply that quick. The thing that's not in here is you might want to keep some sunblock as well, or in a pocket near here, just in case you forget. A good hat and some good SPF clothing is always good, but you're always going to have that one person who goes out without. Just happens. Now, I have frightened you away from going outdoors to play disc golf. These aren't quite finished, but these are super fun. Don't they look like tiny little hats? But let me see if I can. I've got a number of these done. I haven't sewn the edges in. You can see it's a little crochet project. It's just your regular increase to start with, right? We're going for about 7 inches. So I think you do like, this is maybe 12 in a ring. Then you do an increase in every stitch. So this would be 24, and then you do 1 increase, and then 2, and then an increase, and then this is 3 and an increase, and this is 4 and an increase. Do it until you have that pattern. Continue that pattern until you have about 7 inches. And then when you want to start making the edge to go under, you're going to start some decreases. So how many stitches before the decrease depends on how big you've made it. And you can see it comes up nicely here. So it's the same as a little tam hat pattern. Let me tuck those in. So you can wear it as a stylish little tam. If you've got a toddler in your group, you can totally use it. But these are going to go, it's a group project, and they're going to go to Ronald McDonald House because you can fly these. They're lots of fun. You can fly them indoors in places, and they're going to go to a Ronald McDonald House because they're also easy to wash. Now you're thinking, how did she get all these great colors? So there's probably a lot of color changes, and there were not. I found this old Red Heart Super Saver jumbo stripes, and you can see it's supposed to be a fairly regular color change, but look at all these great colors. I was like, this is going to be awesome. Another great use for those granny square all-in-one ball kind of skeins, or any variegated could be fun. You don't want to have a lot of ends to sew in on these, because if you have a lot of ends to sew in, your disc, unless you do it equally, is going to be off weight, and you don't really want your disc off weight. Another thing they really encouraged us to do in this one was the magic circle start, which I've never tried and been good at. I have avoided it for decades, so I've been trying it. It's something like you lay the string over your hands. Let me see here, get a decent tail. Nope, can't see it. There you can see it. And then I'm going to make an X. I'm going to make an X on the back. And then when I flip it over to the front, it looks like 2 parallel lines. I think this is it. Then I'm coming up here and doing 1. Then I'm just going in and doing a chain 1. And then I just go about my business. Chain and another chain. And then yarn over, go into the loop. Right? And then we're just doing our double chain here. And then when we have as many double chains in our circles we want, which obviously I'm not doing, then I'm going to pull on my tail and see how my loop is getting smaller. It's just a different kind of a slip knot. Remembering that I had to do the X on the bottom was the key. I did it too. It's supposed to look parallel on top, X on the bottom. If you do it parallel on the bottom and parallel on the top, you're just going to end up with a knot. So watch a video on that, or look at a description, but the key is the X on the bottom, parallel on top. You go under the first one, pull up the second one to start doing your chain loops to begin. Could you do those with single chains as well? Yeah, so you want to go about till you have about 7 inches. And again, same thing for single chain. The increases are going to look exactly the same. You're just going to do more of them. I suspect doing a single is going to make it heavier. And if you go to a triple, it may be too flimsy and not held together enough. I think that's why they do the double crochet in general. There's a number of free patterns out there if you want an exact pattern on that. The one we're using has been approved for this charity to use, and it's not for commercial use, but I'll try and find some free ones and link them for you. So just some fun things to do. I assume you have some fun hobbies as well. I've got some other crochet kits out here. It can be fun to take some sort of crochet along to a picnic or something like that, where you just have a little bit of nervous energy and you want something to do. And it can be a great conversation starter. Suddenly there may be a young girl or a young lad at your side going, how'd you do that? What can I make with that? And then you can sit there and maybe teach them and help them learn a new hobby or craft, or you can make them a toy on the spot that they run off and play with. That is always a fun thing to do, and it sticks with a kid. It's amazing. It's amazing to them. So that's all. This is just a silly little video reminding you, hey, we're on the edge of summer. You're going to want to have some crafts to take along to some family outings and plan just some fun downtime. It doesn't all need to be structured. And maybe you just like throwing those flying discs back and forth. If you're going to do that, you're going to use the ones at the store, not the name brand ones, you're going to want something that's called a putter. And it has a nice rounded edge, not that sharp edge for cutting through the air, but one that has a big, chunky, rounded edge if you're throwing it back and forth. That's what you're going to look for. You're going to look for a putter. That's going to be easier on your hands for catching back and forth as well. And so you can have one in your bag just for throwing and goofing around, and then also have these. Also, if you're going to a new course or one that seems a little dangerous on the poison ivy or whatever the hazards are, they do make floating discs if it's somewhere with a lake. But if it's somewhere also that's I'm not going to think of the word. There's some that aren't true disc golf courses. They don't end in a basket. They end with like a trash can that you're supposed to hit. You may want to have a cheap set of discs at the ready, a basic starter set just just for those courses so that you're able to lose those discs and you can replace them easy peasy. Oh, other things, those great trash grabber claws that are on the end of a handle. I know I've seen some older people use them when something is on a shelf too high or they've dropped something. You're going to want one of those claw arms, or they make a variety of extending poles for retrieving discs from some crazy places as well. Some of them have sticky balls in the end. Some of them have a variety of hooks or claws. You're going to want to find what works for you and your discs. I think that's all for today. God bless you, friends.